Hi, today we're going to talk about ringworm or dermatophytosis. That's the big long fancy name for it. Ringworm, just in case you guys didn't know, is not caused by a worm, it's caused by a fungus. And it causes skin infections in cats, dogs, people. It's what we call a zoonosis, which means zoo, like animals, can be transmitted between people and animals. It's something we see a lot here in Dubai, and it can be sometimes a bit tricky to diagnose. 50% of them can show up as a lovely bright green under an ultraviolet light, which is one test that we use to try and diagnose it. It's called the Woods lamp test. If you look through our videos, you will see an example of that test. We've shown that before. But we also then try a fungal culture or a ringworm culture, where we take a little bit of sample of the skin and the hair around the lesions that we suspect could be affected, and we put it in a culture medium. So this is an example of the culture medium. So it's a little pot, okay, and it's got this sort of jelly-like substance in that is this color. And we would place the hair and the skin cells and swipe across here with a bit of a bud, and then we put it in a dark room so it's not affected by light for 14 days, and then we have a look at the result. If it is ringworm or fungal infection, the color of this medium will change to a red, and that will tell us how we know. So if you look at this test, this is a test. You can see the little hairs and everything in there. The color's changed a little bit darker, kind of orange or amber, but it's basically, that is a negative test. But here we have a positive test. If you look, firstly there's some lovely molds and things growing in there. It looks a bit disgusting. But this has now gone a nice red, and you can see it quite clearly as a difference to this one. So that is a positive test for ringworm. However, one little caveat to that is that you sometimes get false positives. There's no perfect test on earth. I wish there was, because it would make my job a lot easier. But sometimes an overgrowth of yeast or malassezia can cause that reaction. So it's just something that the vet needs to take into consideration, and they make the decision based on a whole lot of things. You also can get false negatives sometimes, which means we're going to miss it because perhaps the sample hasn't been taken correctly, or it hasn't been, in the right area, or perhaps the test wasn't put in a dark place. Nothing is ever perfect, unfortunately, but for this little cat and this little owner, unfortunately, it's definitely ringworm positive.